Ralph, it's probably fair to say the season hasn't started the way you would have hoped for, but have you seen a positive reaction and an upbeat tempo around the training ground?
I can agree, definitely. That was not the start we wanted to have, but as always, you step out of a preseason, you don't know on what level you are, and definitely when you compare us to the end of last season, we are not as far as we hoped to be, but there are some reasons why this is like this, and in total we have to use now all the games we have to get back to our top level.
This week has seen some interest from another Premier League side in your striker, Danny Ings. Obviously, the transfer window is still open at the moment. We know how important he is to you because of the goals he scored last season. Can you just update us with what type of an inquiry was there from Spurs and what potentially could happen and how important Danny is for you?
I think, I don't know how often I spoke last season about Danny Ings, how important he is for our club. And the only thing I want to say for this rumors is that there's absolutely zero interest from Danny to go anywhere. He's 100% happy to be here, and for us, it's 100% not discussable that we leave one of the best players in Europe and one of the best strikers in Europe. And so, any rumors about that are absolutely nonsense. And I think hopefully this is the last time we speak about this.
And the fact that you've had a conversation with Danny and he said that he wants to stay at Southampton, he doesn't have any interest in leaving and wants to be a part of your team this season, that must be really refreshing for you to hear.
Yeah, I mean, to be an alternative for another club or being here, the most important striker we have in our team, one of our own if you want, then you know how much he likes it to be here. And then he loves what we do here. He loves to play for us, and the team loves to play with him.
The big challenge up next in Spurs and another Premier League match, and the fact that they've been really busy in the transfer window with new players, Sergio Reguilon and Gareth Bale, someone who Southampton fans will know well because he came through the academy there. How much do you think that will change the dynamic for this weekend, even though they can't potentially be involved? The fact that the players coming to the club will give everyone a big lift after a disappointing game with Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to discuss about the individual quality Tottenham has in the squad. We will never be competitive when we speak about the one-to-one from every player. But this is not the goal we have. We have the goal that we are the most possible committed team that is available in the weekend. We have a few injury problems, but still come from our commitment and our working together. And if we do it well, then we have shown in the past that we can also win against such teams.
And finally, from me, you've been active already in the summer. Are there any new faces that are close to joining Southampton?
I don't know how close, but and as I always said, we are still looking. The market is open, and we know that our squad we lost some players to other clubs, so we have to do something, and we will.
Thanks, Ralph.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. We'll go to Olivia at Premier League.
Hi, Ralph. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You mentioned there that you had a few injuries. Who are those injuries? And also, your new signing, Salisu, how is he settling in it? And is he in contention? You've got quite competition for centre-backs now, haven't you?
Yeah, at first we have in a moment ready from the weekend, from the game against Brentford with an ankle injury, a light ligament injury, and finally not available, I think, for the weekend. Stewie was the first time with us on the pitch today. If it's enough for starting on the weekend, I don't know. Maybe it's part of the squad. We cannot say it now. And with Sully, I mean, he is here now, since nearly the beginning of the season, and and we know that he had some issues. But I think, he's coming closer to be an alternative, and hopefully we see him very soon on the pitch.
And we've mentioned that Spurs game. It was a brilliant performance against them last season at St Mary's. Do you think you're going to need to replicate that in order to get a good result, given how you've started the season?
Yeah, I think both teams lost the first game, so if you want to have both a little bit under pressure to show up, I think we played last season, I think 4 times against each other, 3 times or 2 times at St Mary's and 2 times away. So we know each other very well now. I think one of our players now, ex-players, is playing there now also, and I think the teams know each other very well. So it would be tactically interesting. But in the end, there's always a chance to beat such a team when you have a good day.
And also, Danny Ings scored the goal on that day. Are you confident that your other strikers and even midfielders can chip in and sort of take that responsibility off him? Of course, he had that incredible season last season. Are you confident that other players can chip in as well?
Yeah, we have to, I think, because we had now last 2 games didn't score a goal, so it's not normal for us, to be honest. We had massive chances, but in the moment, a few things are missing. But I think this is the challenge in the moment, to come out of the break and from the preseason with a squad that is not 100% shape. But I think we know what we have to work on, and we will push hard to come back to what we have played. And I think when we do this, then it's still for us also a chance to win against Tottenham.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Olivia. We'll go to Adam Patmore at Radio Solent.
Good afternoon, Ralph.
Hello.
Hi. Look, not only have you played Spurs 4 times last season, but all the matches were cracking games. But you've also beaten them twice now yourself at St Mary's. One thrilling free kick from Ward-Prowse in the first year, and then Danny's bit of skill last season. What was in those performances that you need to play against the top 6 that you haven't seen in the last week from the first 2 games of this season? What's the difference?
I think you cannot compare these games to what we play in the moment. I think we developed our game in many ways. That was the reason why we, in the end of last season, performed so well. It's a different situation in the moment. We hadn't have any pressure in the end of last season. We had, I think, 39 points, and then it's easier to play. Now we start a new season. Nobody has shown something, and we must step up now. And it's always not so easy if you lose the first game. But we know the situation from last year, and we want to be a team that nobody likes to play against. And in the moment, or in the last 2 games, we have been a team that was not that nasty and that aggressive like we should be, and this is definitely an issue, and we work on this, and we must change this as quick as possible.
When you said last week and this week and after the games that the team aren't physically and mentally where they were or where you want them to be, do you put that down to the shorter pre-season, or are you saying actually we should be there and it's our fault that we're not at 100% yet? Or is it circumstances that have created that?
I mean, you must see the whole history. We had a long lockdown. The guys were working very hard during the whole lockdown to come back as fit as possible. We used this time then to show how good we are, and we played quite well. We were very fit. We have been focused on these games, and then there were a 3-week break where we had to give them some rest, because we know that we have now a very, very intense year in front of us. We have massive games in all the competitions, and in that, without a break, you need to give the players a few weeks to rest, because they are no machines. We cannot force all the time the highest level, and that was clear, and that they are coming back, and we have only 2 weeks to work together, and then they were going to the international games. This is not a preseason you have normally, and then you must have. It's normal that you have a team all on different levels, and then it takes time until it fits completely together. But this is not so surprising for me.
Yeah, Just finally from me, we've talked about you wanting more recruitment in the middle of midfield, a number 6, which is understandable. But when Stuart Armstrong is out and Will fills in, who can also play centrally, and now you've got Nathan, if Sofiane Boufal doesn't have a future at the club and Moussa Djenepo is still getting back to his best, do you need to consider more wide options externally as well as a central midfielder? Would you like some more pace in the side or some more width?
Yeah, I don't want to discuss our whole transfer schedule or plan we have. You can be sure that we know very exactly where we have some problems. And it's clear when Sofiane leaves the club that we are then also looking on this position. It's clear.
Thanks very much, Ralph. See you Sunday.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, Ralph. I mean, I'm not a manager by any stretch of imagination, but in the last 2 games, it looks like the defence has played a slightly higher line. Would I be right in thinking that, or?
You're not completely wrong, yes.
What's the reason behind that? Because you admitted yourself you didn't have too much time to coach your players over pre-season. So is this something you always wanted to do, or?
Yeah, I think it was a way of defending we want to do in the future, and especially against in the first 2 games. I think we didn't give a lot of chances away. It looked sometimes more critical than it was in the end. You can be sure that we will find always the right balance of defending high and the position we need to adapt on every opponent, and that's the reason why we have to be flexible in this part. But against some opponents, it can be helpful to be a little bit higher. This is right.
Against a team like Tottenham, obviously they've got players that can run in behind. Will you be looking to use that high line again, or?
Yeah, if you do it well and if you have a good communication, good automatism, then there's no reason why you cannot do this.
Thank you, Ralph. Good luck for the weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. We'll go to Tom Crocker at the Echo.
Hi, Ralph.
Hello.
Hi. You mentioned again the team not being physically where you want them to be. I mean, do you look back at pre-season and think there's anything you could have done differently there, or did you think these problems may have always been the case in the first few weeks and you'd have to sort of work through them a little bit?
No, because there were no alternatives of having them not long around you, and we definitely used the time we had as good as possible, I think. But in general, it was not so surprising that with not having everybody with you could not really work on your tactical parts of your game, because when you don't have 3 or 4 or 5 players with you, it's very difficult to work on the tactical things. Then it's not so surprising that you need time. Yeah, and we know this. The players are very clear what we want to play, and I think in a moment we on many occasions cannot show this, but we will come back to this level, I'm sure.
And do you think, with that in mind, losing that cup game, I know you would have wanted to go through, but is it a bit of a blessing that now you get a whole week next week to maybe get a bit closer to the level you want to?
The pre-season, after the pre-season, if you want, yeah, we will use this week definitely now more. Have now more time to work on a few basic things, and this is definitely something that can help you. That's right.
Perfect. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. We'll go to Neil at the Mirror.
Hello, hi, Ralph. Just
Hi.
quick one on Gareth Bale. How good do you think it is for the Premier League that he's coming back and a superstar name? And we're not quite sure. He's maybe getting unveiled this afternoon. Is there a part of you that like to see him involved on Sunday? Would you rather he wait another week?
If he's not fit, he can surely play on Sunday if he wants. But I think he's fit because he was always training with one of the best teams in the world. Now I think it's fantastic for the Premier League when very good players are coming to the league. And I said about the summer window that was very happy that Chelsea took some interesting transfers, and I think it's a sign of this league that everybody wants to play in this one of the strongest league in the world, and maybe not the strongest ones, but I think it's definitely a good signal for everybody that there are teams that invest money for getting those players. We cannot do this. That's a pity. Otherwise, it would be also interesting to have a player with this speed in our side, but we don't have the money for this. So, but I find it good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neil. We'll go to Tom at Hampshire Live.
Hello, Ralph.
Hello.
Hello. Can I just ask you about Carl Walker-Peters? He plays his first game against Spurs since leaving North London on Sunday. What has impressed you most about him since he's been with you? And is there anything you think he's particularly improved on?
Yeah, I think there's also always things that you can improve. There are always some moments in the game where he can make the better decisions. But I think he showed in this few games he's playing here now that he's on the ball a very, very good right back. Definitely with some good behaviors. Learned a lot since he's here. We have a little bit different way of defending, more on the front foot, and I think in the beginning he struggled a little bit with this way of playing. But as often young players, they are open-minded. They have, I always say that the hard disk is not full. That they learn a lot, and I think he made a good progress so far, but still to improve. He has a good drive in the moment, and I hope that it stays like this.
And can I ask about this busy September as well? I mean, you get a week off now after this Spurs game, which is obviously a bonus, but I think Spurs have got something like 4 games in 8 days. How do the players, professional footballers, cope with this kind of run of games, especially, like you say, after a pre-season that had a break in it for some and was shorter than normal?
Yeah, I think 4 games in a week is nothing anybody wants to have. The squad cannot be that big that you can manage this normally. So we must really pay attention sometimes to not overload the players. But this will be a very intense year. We know this. We are still happy that we can play and that everything is now coming back to not normal, because we have still no crowd in the stadium. But I think we must be happy that we can play, and it's better to play one more game during the week than don't have all the competitions we want to play.
Brilliant, Ralph. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Tom at the Sun.
Hi, Ralph.
Hi.
When bigger clubs come in for players, sometimes they can be unsettled. They can have their heads turned, as we say in this country. It doesn't sound like you're worried about that from Danny Ings' point of view. Is that correct? And also, is a reason for that because he's already had the experience of playing for a great club like Liverpool?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And even if he would now have 6 or 7 games without scoring, I would not mind that he's thinking about such things, because I know that he is not interested in anything than playing with us. That's the reason why I'm so clear that these rumors are coming very quickly to an end. He knows what he has with us. He was just one time in a big club. He knows how good it feels to play all the week, every game, and be in a team where everybody loves him. The crowd is loving him, and it's something you don't have very often. He made also from here the step to the international squad. So what else do you want? It's also from Southampton possible to play in the internationals for England, to come maybe to the next Euro. And it's up to him to show up again, and we will do everything to bring him in the right position. If you want to play in this club, I think you must want to have what we show and what we give the players: a good atmosphere, a clear strategy, what you want to do, and then enjoy working with that hard and giving the people in this city what they want to see: a team that is really enthusiastic and working for them very hard, and show the passion what everybody wants to see.
And Gareth Bale is probably the greatest player Southampton have ever produced. People sort of forget that he came through at Southampton rather than Tottenham. I know that you're trying to sort of re-energise the Saints Academy. We know about the B team for the under-23s. But, where do you see you're at in that kind of rebuilding process? And do you think it might not be too
along the way that Southampton can start producing, high quality talents like, obviously Bale's the height of that, but Ward-Prowse, all the other youngsters that have come through the doors at Southampton?
I don't know if it is possible to come back to what this academy once produced, because you can see more and more that especially the big clubs are hunting very, very early for these big talents. And even there you have, as a small club, no chance to get them anymore. So because of this, the younger players with 15, 16, even it's too late to get them in. So you have to have really luck to find somebody who is not is not shining too much that immediately a big club takes in, because they are, as I said, also very, very aggressive in this market. You can see it's in Germany, it's all over the world now that they're hunting for the big talents, because they also see it's sometimes cheaper to get a young lad in, paying for him maybe a few million and not 50 when he's famous. And that's the reason why a lot of teams do this. And then it's difficult for us to find them. And what we can do is what we have with our knowledge, with our expertise in every part of this club, to develop them in a way that is a little bit different from playing a different style, but can make you also a very big player if you have the highest talent, I think.
Jordan, if I can ask one more question, or I can wait to the end?
Yeah, that's fine.
He's not your player, Dele Alli. He's at Tottenham, obviously. But I just wondered. he was once, heralded as one of the most exciting young players in the world. Things haven't quite worked out in the last year or so, and we're wondering whether he'll even feature against Southampton. What do you make of his progression or regression, really? And if he were available on the market, would you fancy a cheeky loan offer?
I think he's not the only example of players. They had one fantastic year, and then the next one, I think it was not running that easy, or it wasn't flowing that much. I think it's not so abnormal. I think we have a lot of examples of players. They showed up, shooting stars, and then it was a little bit calmer. I think important is for every player that he still is working hard, trying to fight back to be in the squad. And if he does this, he has so much quality. Sure, he can play in nearly every team, I think, or in every team in England. And every team wants to have a Dele Alli in his team because he's quick, he can score. It's a fantastic quality, and yeah, sure, everybody wants to have him.
Thanks, Ralph. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. We'll go to Harry Pratt.
Hi, Ralph.
Hi.
Ralph, with regards, obviously, Gareth Bale, you sharply brought it back into focus. How many great players in the Premier League at different clubs have come through Southampton? And I'm just wondering, are Southampton always going to end up being a selling club? Can you ever see a day when that changes?
It's not nearly every club a selling club. I think if there is the bigger fish coming, everybody has to sell the player. Or nearly every club is a club who then must sell a player if the player gets an offer from a different one. We have no other alternative because we need from time to time money to get new players in, and therefore we have to sell other ones. And this is our, if you want, our history and also our future, yes. But I don't see the big problem in this because it all can also be a strength. If you have a chance to replace players with less money and force these players to become better, work with these players, then you create a very healthy club, I think, with no fear of losing some money there or there. I think we don't invest a lot in the moment, yes, because we don't have the money. If we would have more, I don't know if we would go a different way. A little bit, yes, but in the end, I think we feel very comfortable with this way. Although we have to pay always attention that the squad is big enough and that this quality from outside from time to time is coming to fresh everything up, and this is what we want to do.
So you find it sort of an exciting challenge as opposed to a real frustrating situation as a manager?
I mean, it's absolutely exciting, this challenge, definitely. it's only frustrating if you have sometimes a player on your list and and you're convinced that he's a good one. You have maybe a short slot to get him, and after the short slot, the big clubs are coming, and then he's gone. And then it would be possible. It would have been possible with a little bit more money, but you don't get him. This is sometimes definitely a little bit frustrating. But in the end, the guys that are really coming to us, we don't play any games with any agents or something like that. We try to get the players to us that really want to come to us. And sometimes it's maybe for a little bit less money for them. But as a step in between before you go to a big club. But here you have the chance to play. Here young players get the chance to perform. Young players get a big window to show up. And it's not a coincidence that we have now 2 players in the England international squad. So I think there's also a way to go. And who decides for this is heartily welcome.
Okay. If I could just ask one quick other question. With your first 2 games, obviously you had such a great end to last season. Do you think perhaps within the squad, I mean, complacency is probably not the right word, but I think everyone on the outside was expecting Southampton to get off to a flyer again. Do you think that maybe that was, sort of a reality check, those first 2 games, or the first game last weekend?
Yeah, but football is not. I sometimes compare a football team with a car. You cannot put it in the garage and then you can put a car in the garage, put it out, and then drive again 300 if you want. But a football team is different. They're humans, and they cannot immediately be on the highest level. There's a lot of work behind the scenes, what you have to do until you come to a level where you compete like we did in the last games. But the important thing is that everybody knows this, is self-critical, and tries to step up. And when you do this, then you have a chance to come back as a squad that is able to play on this level. And we have shown this once, and we will show it again.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, we'll go to Ben Stanfield.
Hi, Ralph.
Hello.
You spoke a bit earlier about wingers and obviously Sofiane and things like that. Nathan Tella obviously made his debut against Brentford during the week. Someone who's potentially going to be involved in and around the first team was on the bench last week. I just wondered what you made of his debut, and bearing in mind the positions out on the wing, if he's someone that you see as having potential to play more involvement in the Premier League this season.
Yeah, I think we have a few young lads in our team. They will get chances this season for sure, more than they expected maybe. But I think he was very intense in the game. He had a lot of high-speed runnings and also a few good situations. The final pass or the final finish was not there. I think this he has to learn. But for the first time, I think it was okay. Absolutely, I was not disappointed about him. We cannot expect that they lift us. We have to give them a team where they can swim with and try to adapt to the quality we have. And then we have a few young players that can be an alternative in the future, yes.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ralph.
Thank you.
And we'll go back to Dan Sheldon.
Thank you, Jordan. Hi, Ralph again. Just quickly, in one of your answers earlier, and I know you've mentioned it before about wanting to spot young players perhaps before the bigger clubs do. Matt Crocker has obviously come into the club from the FA, where he had a brilliant knowledge of a lot of, across the whole age groups really in England. How insightful has he been in that planning, bringing young players in, like using his knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely. A very, very high important thing for us, because this was one of the reasons we wanted to sign him, because we know about his knowledge. We well know about how much he can help this club, and we trust him 100%. And I think this is important. We have here a very, very good team player, I think, who helps us developing this club. And this is what we will need in the future.